Hey, it's Max92 and welcome back to another episode of Wrap-Ups Bites, the version of a wrap-up where instead of focusing on one specific game, I focus on a couple of games that I played over the last while and talk about them because I didn't originally have videos planned for them and then I wanted to talk about them. So, the first game to talk about today is, one that I think has kind of been a long time coming on the channel. I didn't really want to do a full wrap-up on it, but I figured I should at least mention it, and that is the Destroy All Humans remake. I made that video back for the Summer Games Fest of like 2020 or whatever. I made that video where I talked about a bunch of demos, and I talked about this game's demo, and I had a lot to say about it. And then I also did the full wrap-up on the Destroy All Humans video game, the first one. So here we are talking about the remake, and I finished it finally, and I didn't quite 100% it. I skipped out on the challenges and then a couple upgrades, but overall I was just as fun as the original game. I wanted to stop so that I wasn't trying to like grinding and making it not fun after a while, because I was sort of at a point where I was like, I don't even want to do the challenges. I don't really care to spend all the time to grind DNA to get the last couple upgrades, and there's like a two, 3 achievements that I didn't get, and it's like, I'm good, I'm done. So I had fun. The only thing that it's kind of missing from the original game is that the menus from the original game are very animated. They have a lot, of moving stuff. They have a lot of pizzazz. I don't know. I don't know what word I'm trying to say there, but they've got a lot of something that je ne sais quoi, as you might say, that like really improves the experience a little bit. And so the remake's menus are a bit static in comparison, but they are, passable. They're not terrible, but they certainly aren't as good as the original games. Otherwise, however, this is probably the definitive version of Destroy All Humans. It fixes some of the controls, it just makes the game better and like more of modern time, and just makes it more accessible to people of today rather than stuck on a PlayStation 2 or an original Xbox or whatever. And I'm really excited for the remake of the sequel, the Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed or whatever it's called. I'm excited for that to come out, and I'll probably play that, and maybe I'll talk about it on the channel, who knows. In the end, overall, I recommend the Destroy All Humans remake, especially if you're a fan of the original game, and check it out. The second game that I'm finally getting around to finishing, is one that I did a tryout on Season 1 of Tryouts, and that was Yakuza 0. It took me forever to finish for whatever reason. I was playing it, and then my girlfriend started playing it, and she finished it, and then she's finished, I think she's finished all the way up through Yakuza 4 before I even finished 0, and so I figured I'll finish 0, and then I'll just continue watching her play through the rest of the series rather than playing it myself. But yeah, 0 is, I think, often considered the best or one of the best in the series, and I think it deserves that. It's certainly, good for newcomers and fans of the series alike. So like, it's just a really good overall piece of video game, It manages to have this sort of emotional and dramatic story, but not becoming like soap opera levels of overly dramatic, and it stays a fun experience overall and doesn't sort of get bogged down in itself. I think the gameplay can take a little getting used to. I remember that I had some things that I hadn't figured out when I did the tryout on it, but it's a very deep and engaging gameplay system with, it's a sort of beat 'em up with lots of combos and 3D. It's got a lot going for it, and maybe it's deeper than some of the other games in the series as well, I think, in that respect. So it's pretty good, really, and I recommend it to just about anyone if you're interested in that style of game. So check out Yakuza 0, maybe just the series as a whole. So now we're going from games I played on the Xbox One and Series X to a game I have on Steam and played on PC. I think I actually played this one on my laptop, maybe, before I got this computer. So I don't think I have footage, maybe a couple screenshots to show. But this game is Forget Me Not, My Organic Garden. It's a very, like, chill and thought-provoking gardening game. But, like, instead of gardening regular plants, you're gardening organs. Hence the organic. It's a pun. It's got some quirky characters, and they're very interesting, and it's presented this visual novel style outside of its gardening section, and I think the story that it tells is a pretty engaging one. The only real downside that I have is that it can get a little bit grindy to, finish off 100%ing it. I think in the end I put like 18 hours into the game, but it's sort of like it's a gardening game. You sort of plant the thing, or you water the plant, and you sort of just wait. And it was something that I was playing at work, so it wasn't like something that needed to be too involved. It could just be clicking on stuff and whatever. And it was a good time for me doing that. And if need something that's sort of wind down a bit more, just something to hang out with a bit, I think that this is a good game, and I recommend this. Yeah. Now, continuing with games that I played on Steam, Portal 2. I don't know why it took me this long to finish Portal 2. I finished the co-op campaign years and years and years ago, but for some reason just never played the single player until more recently. Now, this is a game, and it's one of the very rare games that is a sequel that many consider to be on the level or perhaps even better than its original. And I honestly think that Portal 2 might be better than the original game. And it's got a really nice single player, and it's also got a really, really developed co-op campaign. So it's got this situation where you got everything for everybody just about. And I'm of the opinion that everyone should play both Portal games. I think they're just pretty much, if you're someone who plays video games and, like video games, I think you should at least try Portal, and then if you get through Portal, Portal 2. So I definitely recommend these for just about everybody. Now, jumping back to games I played on Xbox, I did a tryout on this one not that long ago, and that is Sea of Solitude. I sat down and I finished it at some point. I think it was pretty shortly after I did the tryout on it that I finished the game, after the tryout was recorded and whatnot. And I appreciate what it's trying to do. Except for, like, the collectibles it has, I think those kind of get in the way a little bit. Personally, I wish it focused a bit more on the character you're playing as and representing her personal struggles, rather than trying to fictionalize or whatever the struggles of those around her and have her be this sort of important piece in all of it, because that's not really necessarily how that works. And if it stayed with the personal, I wished it would be more abstract. But since it's doing this, how it's bringing in these other people and how their struggles are represented, I wish it was a bit more literal, because I just think that it's not quite where I would want something like this to be, personally. At the end of the day, it's not really my art, so it's pretty much fine as is. But, I have I have some gripes with it, and, it's not that I can't critique art, and it wasn't my piece of art, so it's not going to be my exact personal situation. I mostly recommend Sea of Solitude, but I think it's a bit more on the walking sim side of things, and doesn't have a lot of gameplay, quote-unquote gameplay. So if you're not into that sort of thing, then maybe skip out on it. And so this brings me to a game I played on the Switch. This was one of the Super Nintendo games on the Super Nintendo app, and it was Super Metroid. I played it in the lead up pretty much to Metroid Dread coming out, because, you know, everyone was in a Metroid mood. I hadn't played Super Metroid before, and so I figured I'd give it a shot. And like, it's one half of the games that pretty much kickstarted a genre. Between this and like Symphony of the Night, those two games sort of merged together to create the Metroidvania genre, pretty much. So like, it already has this sort of like big hype behind it, and I think for the most part it lives up to it. Because overall, the game is really good, and generally I could figure out everything on my own just through messing around. I think I did end up having to look up some things here and there, but, you know, since it has its only like built-in map and stuff, it's just a very good, you know, Metroid. My, like, probably absolutely frozen take here is that Super Metroid is significantly better than the original NES Metroid. Because I actually kind of grew up with the original NES Metroid because I had it on the Game Boy Advance. I still have the cartridge, it's just not in this room with me. So, yeah, it's pretty good, and I definitely recommend Super Metroid, especially to people who like Metroidvanias. But, like, if you like Metroidvanias, how have you not played Super Metroid, really, you know? It's sort of like one of the two things. So, that's a bunch of games I finished over the last year or so. Just gonna wrapped up. I just wanted to talk about them a little bit. It's mostly stuff that I never bothered to get enough footage to make a main video on, or stuff that I didn't think I'd want to talk about until I did at the end. Or, you know, some stuff where it's like, I want to talk about this, but I don't want to talk about it like at length. So I put them in one of these and eventually make a whole big video. So that's the video. You got in the description, find links to all my places: Patreon, Bandcamp, Twitter, etc. Links, click links. Like the video if you liked it, dislike the video if you didn't. I can still see the dislikes, so let me know if you didn't like it. Leave a comment. What do you think about any of these games? Have you played them? Have you not played them? Leave a comment, let me know. Share the video, do the things. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!